Hello. What's up? How's it going? Get a little closer here. Penguin Butt thinks that she can get the designation of first by arriving like over half an hour before their live stream and dropping something in the chat. It doesn't work that way. Just want that to be very clear for the record. What's up, Ed? How you doing? Ed, dude, so I went this last weekend. I went for some more gun training, and the guy was a Marine. Well, probably an ex-Marine, but anyway, he was a Marine, and he was showing me some stuff. So it was pretty cool. He was actually a better instructor in my opinion than the other guy, the original instructor I was going with. The original instructor was like a police officer for the longest time. Like, he was in the Detroit Police Department for a while, and then just a whole bunch of stuff. But I don't know. I like the Marine guy more. Pretty cool. Yeah. Hoorah! Okay, so the first time, by the way, too, Ed, so the first, and whoever else cares to hear about this, the first time I went, I was just learning a 22. It was a 22 semi-automatic. And this last time, my class was with a 9mm. I was using a Glock 43X 9mm, and I was not quite as consistent with my shots. The grouping was all still pretty good. The grouping was all low left, you know. So I'm still, and that's how it was with the 22 as well. So the grouping, I'm still pretty well grouped and stuff. But he was also what I liked about the Marine is he was having me do different drills too. He wasn't just like shoot at the target. He was like, you know, I want you to do 2 center of mass, 1 to the head. And then he was like, what did he call that? He called that failure to stop. And then there was another one where it was just do 2 center of mass. I forget what he called that one though. And so then he was like, he would rattle them off. He'd tell me what to do, and then I had to respond and shoot that way. And he was trying to get me out of my head because I was overthinking it too much, as opposed to just doing it, you know. So anyway, it was cool. It was enjoyable. It's my new weekend thing. There are always cats. There are always cats. Yes, it's very fun. I just have to, like, I'm not very good right now, obviously, but I hope there's a range. Like, the range that I go to right now, the targets are all stationary. They're just stationary. You know what I mean? And so, like, I hope that there are ranges that have like moving targets, because it seems like that's a useful skill to have, you know, but I don't know how that works. Pickle, what's up? Blue Bob Man, hello. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. The room is barren? No, this room has a... Oh, you know what? There used to be a table. I used to have a table over in this corner here, and I did clean the room out. So there's less clutter in it, but moving target ranges are super, super rare. Okay. I mean, that's fair. Sil Stellar, hello. What's up? Mom. Your wife is a great shot. Awesome. Oh, yeah. Marine training ranges, that makes sense. Emily Trash Cat, hello. Ambers, what's up? Well, thank you, the old DM. I appreciate that. The one from today about the sandbox and railroad one. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm just getting into shooting guns. It's never something I've done in my life, and I was talking to my wife a while ago, and I was like, you know what, we saw a sign on the side of the road, and it was about learning to shoot, and I told my wife, I was like, you know, we should go learn to shoot guns. And I kind of said it it's something interesting to me, but I said it in a passing comment. I didn't expect it to gain any traction. And she was like, yeah, that sounds good, let's do that. And now we're starting to do it. so she goes with me and does it as well too. Her shots are all over the place. but she only went once, and I think she was really nervous. It was with an instructor, and she was really nervous and stuff, so she needs to keep going again so she can calm down a little bit. Yes, this is mommy cat. Yeah, this is mommy cat. She just needs her kisses. This is what she does. She comes up here and paws at me and gets kisses. Ooh, Avernus, the first chapter is a big messy chaos. I've never read Avernus. I'm a player in that game right now, so I haven't read any of it. I have it sitting on my shelf over there. Yes, Tiffany, thank you for the raid. I appreciate that. And Blue Bobman, thank you for the prime, dude. I appreciate that, man. Jordan Nightfall, hello. I love it when Luke gives hugs to his cats. There's mommy going, move over. Yeah, that's what she does. Like, if I pet another cat, this is little guy. Hey, Ed, here's little guy. Like, if I pet little guy, mommy will, like, come in and she'll shoulder him out of the way so that only she can get kisses. Yeah. I have him here in safekeeping for you, Ed. Mommy. Like, oh, here I am. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Beth, thank you for the prime. I appreciate that. How you doing? The stream just feels like a home. It's so cozy in here. Well, thank you, dude. Appreciate that. It's the cats. I have 4 cats. How can you not? Well, I have 5 cats. Mommy 2 is over there. On the there's like a furniture blanket in the middle of the floor. We have this beautiful leather couch down here in the basement. And the thing weighs a crap ton. And I need to get help getting it up out of the basement and up into the living areas where people use it. But in the meantime, I have the leather couch is covered with a furniture blanket, those nice thick ones you use when you're moving. Big thick furniture blanket, another furniture protector and stuff. I'm trying to protect it as much as possible from my crazy cats. But there was the old furniture blanket was it's all dirty, and so I took it off. I gotta wash it and probably take it to a dry cleaner because it's like super thick. I don't think I could put that in my normal washing machine. Anyway, it's lying in the middle of the floor right now, and the cats love the thing. They're like on top of it. They're like play with it. They just love this furniture blanket in the middle of the room. Yeah, I have an army of cats. If I pet my cat in view of my dog, she starts whimpering. Oh, jeez. What's up, simpaticos? Oh, here's a good question. So, Soul Shuto, by the way, moderators, if you look at Soul Shuto's question, those are the types of questions I really, really like getting. Because I can talk about stuff that's tangentially Dungeon Master or D&D related. I mean, it kind of is, but it's not the standard questions I get. So any of those sorts of questions where I can talk about something, I don't know, different and new and crap are all really cool, just for awareness. By the way, let's start the stream up. Let's start the stream, and then Soul Shuto, you're first up. I'll get to your question first. And if I forget, somebody needs to yell at me. All right, let's start the stream, then I will answer your question, sir. Here we go. All right, ladies and questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting a live stream right now, and we are going to be answering questions. I answer your questions, you ask me questions, I answer them. That's the way this works. Yep, giddy up. We all know how this works. Whee! And we have cats and coffee. That's questions. It's good stuff. So, with that strong opening behind us, let's do our shameless plugs. Now that I've won you over with my opening, I have lots of awesome patrons to help support the content that I create. and I am super appreciative of everything that they do. A bunch of awesome folks are listed on the screen right here. Super cool people. And then we're gonna move into the folks in red who get their names read off every live stream because I love saying their names. And they're cool people. So let's go. 5e Magic Shop, Arutha, Beoban, Biddy B, Brad A, Brian C, Candy Sawyer, Chris Y, Barbar Wizard, question mark, Dresna at R, Aaron S, Fallon, Goliath Cleric, Izzy T, Jake L, James L, Jeremy W, Josue S, Cal S, Karen C, Kevin W, Kezadis, Kurt Y, Kiriakio, Leopold, X92, Lori S, Luke G, Mad Quad, Michael C, Owen D, Paul B, Penguin Butt, published author, Race W, Ryan, Rachel S, Robert W, Rock and Roll Joe, Ron H, Ryan G, Sakura, Simon, Snapbragger, Sophie M, Son of a Sofa Man, Stephen F, Tactical Tokens, the old DM, The Pickle, Theta Tag, 30 Tim Black, Tom M, Tony M, Tooth and Nail Rules, Tyler N, Xavier H, William L. Thank you very much. You're all very cool. I love you. Thank you. And then we're gonna move into our shameless plug. It's always the exact same shameless plug I always do. For my Patreon PDF, I publish monthly Dungeon Master resources, entire D&D 5th edition adventures, traps, puzzles, NPCs, villains with stat blocks, tons of awesome cool stuff for you to use in your games, Dungeon Masters. It'll reduce your prep time, maybe make your games better, I don't know. Lots of folks send me emails and messages and crap saying how their groups enjoy running the adventures, so it's some people like them, you might like them too. There's a link down below if you want to check it out. Thank you. All right. Whee! Oh, by the way, everything on screen here were samples of it. This isn't a piece of crap. This is like pretty high quality professional thing we're doing here. Just in case you're wondering, you know, because there are probably some people that just scribble a few things on a piece of paper and are like, no, we don't do that. I think somebody already redeemed a dancing thing. I'm pretty sure I saw somebody redeem a Make Luke Dance. Where was that? I have a cat strike. Yeah. Penguin Butt did make Luke dance on stream. Napoleon Dynamite, and then make Luke rant. I don't even know what that is. And then a cat trip. Okay, cool. No push-ups. Hand still hurts. Be like, Luke, your hand has hurt for a year. I know, it's the craziest thing. It just won't get better. I wear a brace every night. I wear wrist braces every night now. I mean, I have a little bit of carpal tunnel anyway. So I have this big wrist brace that I use every night. It seems to be helping, and then when I go to the gym, I don't do any weightlifting. Haven't for a while. Let this thing get better, and I wear like a little brace thing, so it feels like it's getting better, slowly but surely. I gotta stop doing stupid stuff so I can quit hurting myself. That's what it basically comes down to. So yeah, no push-ups, no nothing. What was I doing? Oh, we were gonna answer a question. Okay, so question from Soul Shuto says, hey Luke, for new writers trying to gain traction in the community, do you recommend DM's Guild despite losing certain rights to your work, opposed to just posting on forums under the fan content policy? My recommendation, my strong recommendation to DM's Guild is a hard no. They take 50% of your earnings, and you lose your right to your own work. You will bust your butt, and it ceases to become your property. They can use it if they want in their own things, and they make money off from it. Holy crap, talk about double dipping, dude. It's like 50%, plus we're going to be able to use No, don't use DM's Guild. If you want to publish your stuff that you make, do it on Drive-Thru RPG. They take either it's like 35% or 30%. It's a lot less than DM's Guild. You retain all of the rights to your own work. They cannot reuse it in their own bullcrap if they want to. ironically, it's the same company that runs both. I think it's called One Bookshelf. They run both DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG. Which is why the sites look almost identical if you go to them. It's just one. The big advantage of DM's Guild is that you can use Wizards proprietary, their IP, all of their stuff, and that's part of the deal with DM's Guild. You don't have to worry about copyright and IP infringing on any of the stuff that Wizards does because you're publishing under DM's Guild. If you go over the Drive-Thru RPG route, then you got to be careful. You have to be careful of the open, what do you call that thing? The SRD. You got to follow the SRDs, the open content. What do they call that stupid thing? I don't know. I have legal jarble that I put in the stuff that I publish. And I recently had somebody, really awesome dude, take a look at my legal jarble that I put in my publications, and he kind of reviewed it and was like, Luke, you're not doing enough. You got to do some more stuff. And so now I'm doing some more. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that I definitely recommend Drive-Thru RPG. You keep the rights to your own content, first of all, and they take less of a cut. And if you want to, let's say that someday down the road you have a blog or a website or something else, you can publish it over there as well. You have to make sure that you're non-exclusive to Drive-Thru RPG to make sure you don't get into some issues there. So there's some stuff to be aware of as you learn more about it, but that's probably the better way to go. At the end of the day, though, so DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG, they're going to help you get some exposure. They're going to give you a little bit of, people are going to be able to find your stuff a little bit easier. I've noticed especially they tend to put new content in front of people a lot. So when you just publish something, it seems like they push it out a little bit more or something. But you're still going to have a way to tell people about your product. I think it's probably doesn't work so well to just publish something out to Drive-Thru RPG or maybe even DM's Guild without having a mechanism by which you tell people about your product, a marketing arm, so to speak. So I don't know. I mean, I obviously have a marketing arm that I have reached and that I can tell people about my product, but I don't know how it would work for just like, Joe Schmo who puts something out there, how much traction there's going to get. I know some people who publish stuff out there and they make hardly anything off from their publications, but I don't know what they're doing. I haven't looked into it and stuff like that. So just be aware that it's not as easy as just creating the thing and putting it there and then just expecting, it's not if you build it, they will come. You also have to tell people about it. So that's something else to consider if you want to get into that sort of thing. There are different ways you can go about marketing and telling people about what you're doing. I happen to spend 3-4 years building a YouTube channel and followers and stuff like that, that I could tell about my junk. So that takes a while though. All right, there you go. Yeah, they do push stuff out, Pakan, but I don't know. They can't advertise everything. They can't push everything out because here's the thing. When you're running a company like DM's Guild or Drive-Thru RPG, you want sales. You want people to buy the stuff on your website because if they don't, you go out of business. So you want sales. So what's the best way for you to guarantee you get sales? You push out the stuff that is already selling well or has the highest prospects of selling well, or that has great cover, great artwork made by established companies. You're going to push out in your newsletters and in your emails the things that you believe people are most likely to buy. You're not going, if you push out the low-level trash content that listen, I've seen stuff on these sites. I've bought in some of them. I've gotten some of them for free. There are probably, I'm just gonna spitball, probably the majority of stuff that's published out there is not very good quality. And if they push out that low quality stuff to people on their newsletters and stuff like that, and people get those things, they're going to be pissed and they're not going to buy anymore. So as a company, you don't push out the low quality stuff. You push out the stuff that you believe that people are going to buy and they're going to like that product and they're going to come back for more. So for like Joe Schmo who just starts selling stuff, the prospects of ending up on some of those marketing newsletters and stuff that goes out, I mean, I have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, but but I can spitball just using reason and logic that his prospects of getting on those marketing pushes and stuff are not super high. You're at the bottom, right? You have to prove yourself that you can actually, people will buy your stuff and they'll like it, and they'll keep coming back to the site. So, I mean, that's just based on like logic and reasoning and business rationale, and you know what I mean? But I don't know how they do it, in all honesty. I'm just supposing based upon, you know, human logic. I have not read any of the Arcadia stuff. No. You have to be a patron to get that, right? No. I don't know. I don't have that. All right, so I think I answered that one. That's good. Thank you for the timestamp. Appreciate that. Taco or nacho, and why? Nachos. Nachos every day of the week. Are you kidding me? Nachos. Get your hands dirty. It's the double thing. You get to eat the nachos, beautiful nachos, chips and salsa and cheese and beef, some lettuce and stuff like that. All that good stuff on those nachos. You get to eat it, right? And then you have stuff left over on your hands that you get to lick off. It's like you eat the plate and you're like, oh, it's all gone. No, it's not. And you get to, so yeah, nachos, dude. It's a good question. Have you seen the free D&D Beyond VTT that someone is making? Pretty basic at the moment, but looks promising. Nope, haven't seen it. I hope they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's. As far as like, you know, legal stuff that has to, if they're somehow using the API or something from D&D Beyond, I have no idea how they're doing that, right? If they're gonna somehow have it link to D&D Beyond, but hopefully they got their ducks in order, because D&D Beyond is not just gonna sit by and let people steal their stuff. I don't know what they're doing. I'm not familiar with it. Just random comments here. Is there anything specific you do to make side quests feel longer? No, I don't make anything feel longer. I just make them longer if I want them to be longer. the more rooms, the more encounters, the more puzzles, the more whatever I want to put into the adventure, the more there's in the adventure, the longer it is. I don't want to artificially inflate how long something feels. I wouldn't want to make it. It's like I'm not Robert Jordan here trying to fill up pages to extend my writing career or something or make more money. I'm not trying to fill pages here. All right. I'm the dungeon master. We're running the game to have fun, you know. So if I want a side quest to be long, I'm gonna make it longer. You know, I'm not gonna try to make it feel longer though. I only have about a one-shot worth of material. Am I worrying about nothing, or is there something I can do to beef up the material? Yeah, if you want it to be longer, make it longer. That's the solution. That's the solution. Remember, combat takes far longer at the game table than any other part of the game. Usually, there's some groups that'll sit around and be like, they'll take an hour or two deciding what they want to do. Yeah, I don't play in those groups, but there are groups like that. And besides being tediously, horribly boring, and besides all of that, that you could possibly take more time talking about what you might do and deciding on doing stuff than combat. But generally speaking, combat takes the longest in games. So if you feel, if you have to fill out a certain amount of time for a convention or something, let's say, one of the ways to make the content last longer, if you want it to, if that's your goal, is to have more combat encounters, because combat typically takes longer than almost anything else in the game. So if you need to pad it out, so to speak, you could do that. And for a game like Dungeons and Dragons, whose one of its core mechanics is combat, and a reason that many people play it and love playing it, I will never complain if somebody puts more combat encounters into a game. I'll be like, okay, more fighting, let's do it. It's not a problem for me. I love tactical combat. What is your thought process when writing side adventures to your main campaign? The biggest, there are two things that turn into side adventures for my games, I would say. The first thing is anything that I take from a character's backstory, and then I'll make a character arc. So there might be an entire adventure or several adventures based on a character. Oh, holy crap. Krindar! Oh man! Krindar's dead. My Ancient Dragon campaign, Krindar was one of the player's characters. He was a PC, and he just died. He just got turned to stone, and he's dead. And they couldn't take his statue with them because it weighs like 2,000 pounds. They had to flee without him. So he is now permanently dead, basically. And I had an entire character arc going for Krindar. There was this whole thing based on his backstory, and now that just got cut off. Well, that's life. That's why you don't plan too far in advance, because if I had already written all of those adventures, I'd be like anyway, I just remembered that. Sorry. I was like on one train of thought with you, and then I remembered that he died, and I was like, ah, geez, here we go. Okay, so side quests, thought process for creating side quests. Backstories will turn into adventures and different things. That's the type of side quest. The other type of side quest is things that I think of as consequences to characters' actions and decisions in the game. So if they decide, for instance, one time in a game, I had a group of players that there was the Guild of Physicians and Apothecaries in Waterdeep, and the players were trying to get some healing, I think. And they didn't like I don't remember all the details. I don't think they liked the prices or something. But there was a confrontation. There was basically a discussion. I don't remember how it happened. Bottom line, they ended up very heavily insulting the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians in Waterdeep. And that guild, so they did that as part of their adventure, you know. It was just like a side, I don't know what it was, but they ended up doing that. And so I took that information away after the game and was like, okay, my players just pissed off this guild. What is this guild going to do now? Like they do not, this is like one of the most powerful, influential guilds in this entire city. They're not just gonna sit by and take it when people come walking into their guild hall and piss them all off, insult them, blah, 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 whatever. Now, they're also a guild, so they follow the rules of Waterdeep, and here's a powerful adventuring party. We don't really want to get into a scuffle with them. These guys they were pretty high level at that point. So how are we going to get even with them, basically? How are we going to make their lives difficult? And I think what I did is I had the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians. They have connections all over Waterdeep with other guilds, merchants, and everything. Basically, what I did is I had all of the merchants throughout the entire city, because of the influence and power of the Guild of Apothecaries and Merchants. They got everybody else to basically raise their prices by a crap ton. I don't know if it was doubled or what it was. It was all prices everywhere were just like super high. And when my players figured that out, they were just like, oh geez, what the heck? And they ended up finding out who had done it to them. And then they went to talk to them, and the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians was like, oh yeah, by the way, we can fix this problem for you if you go on a quest for us. And the Guild of Apothecaries and Physicians made them go on a quest. I think they ended up fighting a dragon to retrieve a MacGuffin. There was some MacGuffin. Go recover this thing for us and bring it back to us. And then we'll talk with people and smooth things over for you. And so my players had to go on an entire side quest because they just made this guild angry. It wasn't even, that guild wasn't even part of any adventure, I don't think. They just, in happenstance, they made them angry, and then I took that away and I created a side quest based on that. And that's another thing I like to do, because there are two reasons. First of all, the biggest thing is that it makes your players feel like their decisions and actions have consequences in the world, like their actions matter. It makes them feel like this is a living, breathing world with things that happen as a result of what we do, and it makes them, it's a cool feeling. Even, of course it created a problem for them. That's my job. That is the job of the Dungeon Master, to create drama and problems that need to be resolved. If I didn't do that, there would be no game to play. So, but it makes the world feel a whole lot more alive when you do that. The second thing is that it's a way for me to get ideas for adventures. Like, I could just sit in a box and brainstorm ideas for adventures, sure. But if I can take something my players did and then come up with an adventure based on that it helps me. It inspires me a little bit, or helps my creative juices flow for that sort of thing. So there's a bunch of ideas. There are different things that I consider for side quests for my group. We call them side quests. The only reason we call them side quests is you have a main campaign arc that you're following. That's the main adventure. That could be a module you're running. But then you have other arcs, character arcs. We call them side quests too. They could be unrelated to characters or the main campaign. They could just be some other adventure over here that happens. And they're called side quests, but they're basically entire adventures. They don't have to be any shorter than a normal adventure. They might not be one entire arc. One character arc or one side quest might not be as long as your main campaign arc, if you're running a module, as long as the module. But they can still be sizable adventures and really cool things that you can do. And they're good. They're very, very good. All of my games feature side quests like that. All of them, for the reasons I just stated, but also for variety's sake. Sometimes you just get tired of the main campaign arc. The Dungeon Master might get tired of it. The players might get tired of it. It's like you need a break. Like, all we've been doing is going into Avernus. Holy crap. And so you need a break. Enter the side quest, enter the character arc, enter whatever this thing is over here. You get a break from the main drama. You get to do something different. And then when you come back to the main campaign arc, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's do this again. Let's go kill some devils. So there's lots of reasons to do that. It's a very good thing to do. I have a couple of videos on my YouTube channel. They're older videos. It's called I think it's campaign planning or campaign creation, part 1 and part 2. And I talk about main campaign arcs and then character arcs. They're very, very good, and you want to do them in your game. This is for sure something you want to do. It'll make your game a whole lot better, more variety, more interest. Your players will love it. As a Dungeon Master, you're gonna like it. It's just a beautiful thing. So yeah, there you go. There are some thoughts around side quests for you. That was a great question. Thank you for the timestamp. I appreciate that, moderators. What was the first DM's Guild drive-through you published, and what do you wish you knew about it then? Let's go take a look. Let's go take a look at the first thing I published. Let's go over here. And I don't remember offhand. I'm gonna have to look at it. Let's go over here. All titles. All titles. Okay, here we go. So I have a bunch of junk that I've put out here. Let's go to the very first one. The very first one that I published was this one right here. The Tower of Eladra the Grim. This is the absolute first thing that I have published on Drive-Thru-RPG. So there it is. Boom shakalaka. And what was the other part of the question? What do I wish I'd known about it then? Is that what it was? What do you wish you knew about it then? I don't know. Here's the thing. Whenever you start doing something new, something you've never done before, you have a big learning process in front of you. You learn a whole bunch of crap, stuff you never knew before. And that's good. That's a very good thing. I've learned a whole crap ton of stuff by publishing on Drive-Thru-RPG that I would never have known or learned or anything. It helped me, it set the foundation for my being able to do a Kickstarter. And knowing kind of how to do that stuff. And now doing the Kickstarter, I'm learning tons of stuff. Meeting people and working with people. I'm stretching myself, and learning and it's good. It's very, very good. Even if I don't like it, even if it's a bunch of work or something, you're learning stuff and you're improving yourself. You're developing new skills, knowledge, and stuff. Part of me is like, I don't want to shortcut that process. Like, the question is, what do you wish you would have known then that you know now? I don't know. I mean, the journey was a good journey, you know? And if I had just had somebody like write a game plan for me and I didn't go through the learnings and stuff myself, I almost would have like been shortchanged as a person in growing and becoming who I am now, years after having begun this, you know what I mean? So I haven't had any big, huge problems or anything, you know, it's just been slow and learning crap and getting better at it, you know what I mean? So I don't know if there's anything that I would like take back or wish I had known when I started, you know? I mean, it's hard, it's a lot of work, you know? But I don't know, dude. I don't know. I don't necessarily think there's any big thing like that. Ray says, I've been watching a YouTube channel for a while now and I wanted to say thanks for so much content. You're a great resource for DMs. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. My biggest question though is, how do you keep your cats on the webcam? I can't keep my cat in one spot for 5 seconds. The truth is, dude, I don't do anything. My cats just sit there. And they're here throughout the day a lot of times too. I don't know why they just happen to sit in the same spot. Now I can tell you that I put catnip on the floor here every single live stream as part of a cat trip, but that's not why they are there all the time. My cats just hang out with me. Like literally, I have 3 cats. I have 3 cats that follow me pretty much throughout the house. Squirty Pie, Squeaky, and Orange follow me everywhere. And usually in the mornings and throughout the mornings, I don't know where they are. They're probably sleeping or something. But right about now, they follow me everywhere. Usually. I'll go upstairs. I can't go to the bathroom without cats following me. And if I close the door, you better believe there's a cat outside the door, pawing at the door, wanting to come. I guarantee, dude, it's ridiculous. So I don't know. They just show up. Here, there you go, mommy. So I don't do anything. When Luke's talking to his computer, we get treats and catnip. Might have a little influence on this. I mean, that's possible. When I'm just sitting here talking out loud, this is Pavlov's dogs, right? They've been trained that when I just sit here and talk out loud, that they get food and stuff. And so yeah, I agree. That probably helps. That definitely probably helps. They've been trained. Yeah. Could you please explain the ability to cast a spell and a cantrip on one turn? Well, you can, if it has a bonus action. If a spell has a casting time of a bonus action, you can then also cast a cantrip. That's the rule. This has been bounced around a lot and can be confusing. That's the rule. Otherwise, you can't do it unless you use a sorcerer's twin spell or quick spell. I think there's a sorcerer thing you can use a meta magic quick spell or speedy spell, swift spell. I don't know. They got some term. I don't know. But that's the only ways I know to be able to cast a spell and a cantrip on one turn. I have a monster with sunlight sensitivity and another with a spell that changes the weather. The level 8 one. It would be too metagamey if I cover it, or would be okay. I don't know if you're the dungeon master or a player. If I don't understand who you are. What perspective is that being asked from? If one of your players has daylight sensitivity like a drow, and you abuse control weather to make there be lots of daylight or something, there's probably a line you don't want to cross there before it gets. You're the DM, okay? Then I don't understand. Who's casting the control weather spell then? The player? The player's casting control weather to make it daylight out, so that your monster has disadvantage on attack rolls? Is that? I don't understand that question at all. There are two monsters? I have a monster with sunlight sensitivity and another with the spell, which changes the weather. Okay, it would be too metagamey if I cover it, or would it be okay? Oh, to cover the sunlight. Okay, you had a pronoun there that did not have a predecessor, or it didn't have an antecedent, or the antecedent wasn't clear, and I'm like, what? What? Okay, so grammar, sorry. No, who cares? Do it. It's not metagamey. It's not metagamey at all. Anyway, one monster is like, ah, bright light, ah, bright light, ah, and the other monster is like, hey, I can help you. Clouds. Oh, I feel better now. That's not metagamey. That is 100% not metagamey. You have my blessing, sir. I got through that question. I figured it out. It's not metagaming at all. Literally, if somebody can't see well because of the bright light, they're going to be squinting and covering their eyes, and their buddy's going to be like, hey, dude, what's wrong? Oh, the sunlight, it hurts my eyes. Oh, well, I can help you with that. It's 100% in character, 100%. What are the most useful, important parts of the rules to review before DMing for the first time? I did an entire video, it was a while ago, on my YouTube channel about which are the most important rules. So you could Google that and see which rules I recommend looking at the most. But I can go over them too. Oh, still stellar. That's perfectly fine. You're good. I'm not trying to be mean to you or mock you about your question. I just legitimately couldn't understand it. It's all good, man. I'm gonna look at the rules. Hold on a second. All right. Rules you want to know for dungeon mastering. We're gonna start with the easy, the monster manual. Oops, there we go. So first of all, monster manual. Do I have my, okay, hold on a second. I gotta turn my thingy. No squeaky. Give me a hot second. I'm gonna turn my exposure and stuff was way too high, so it was screwing up the screen. But there you go. You should be able to see that better now. So basically, the very beginning of the monster manual has some very important information in it about types and senses, blind sight, tremor sense, true sight. Like, there is some very, very, very important information at the very beginning of the monster manual that help you to know how to run monsters' stat blocks. Legendary creatures and stuff like that, layer actions. It talks about limited usages and how the recharge mechanic works. So you definitely want to take a look at that, because if you don't know, and I know it's at the beginning of the monster manual, but the monster manual isn't the type of book you read from the beginning, you know what I mean, necessarily. So it could be easy to overlook it. I know I did when I first started running 5th edition, until I found it there and I was like, oh, I should have looked at this. Okay. Player handbook. So this is the player handbook. Whee! You definitely you need to know how to create characters as a dungeon master, because your players might need help. So know how to create a character. You definitely need to take a look at using ability scores. You need to know that chapter. Very important. The adventuring probably has some important stuff in it. Combat is probably one of the most important chapters for you to read, and try to know and memorize the rules here. They will come up multiple times during a game session, and the last place you want to be looking up rules is during combat. Combat can already be slow enough, and that's why there are so many videos about how to speed up combat. So you don't want to look up rules during combat. You want to have these things down pat. Now, the beautiful thing is that in most D&D games, people get into combat a whole lot, which means you use the rules a lot, which means you should get familiar with them pretty quickly. So this is a super important chapter right here. Rules of combat. Spellcasting. Know how spellcasting works. Might I also... You don't have to, by the way, all the different spells. Do not feel like you need to memorize all of the spells. I haven't even read all the spells. When a new spell comes up that I haven't, because my players are using it that I haven't seen before, I just read up on it and we figure it out. But there are important rules at the very beginning of spellcasting you need to be aware of. And the one that I want to point out the most, that almost everybody seems to screw up, is where the effect begins when you cast a spell. Most people screw this up with Thunder Wave. They think that Thunder Wave is centered on the caster, and because the Thunder Wave is a cube, it's a 15-foot cube, and they think that the caster is the center of that cube. It doesn't work that way. According to the rules of areas of effect, point of origin is actually the rule. A cube says that you select a cube's point of origin, which lies anywhere on the face of the cube effect. Okay, so that means the caster is on the face of the cube. They're not at the center of it. That's not the way it works. So anyway, I just thought I'd point that out because this is like one of the top D&D rules that people screw up all the time. So definitely take a look at that. Okay, now let's go to the Dungeon Master Guide. There are like massive honestly, you almost don't need the Dungeon Master Guide to run the game. I almost never look at this thing. I almost never look at it. I use it a little bit in game prep and stuff, but there's not okay, whatever. I'll quit bashing it. I'll go through some parts of it. Now I'm going over the top rules for Dungeon Masters to be familiar with. Building a world of your own. Well, I suppose if you build your own worlds, then you need this. I don't build my own worlds. I don't like doing it. It's a waste of my time. I spend my time building adventures. Creating a multiverse, I don't do that. Now this does have information on the D&D multiverses, the different planes of existence, but you don't need to read this necessarily. You could refer to this as you go. It's not the most important part of the game. Creating adventures. This is super, super important. Like if you are homebrewing your own adventures, then you need to know how to create your own adventures. There's probably some useful information in here that will help you. But if you are creating your own adventures, then I would highly recommend that you look at my videos on YouTube about creating your own adventures, because I break down the process for you. And I even give you a template that you can follow to create your own adventures and stuff. I'm sure there's useful information here. They're not going to walk you through the step-by-step process and really explain it to you super well. Creating non-player characters, there's some useful information there, but this is all stuff you're going to use in preparing your games and stuff. So you don't actually have to memorize these rules because you're going to use these rules outside of the game, which means there's no pressure. Let me see. Adventure environments. In between adventures, this is downtime stuff, but Xanathar's has better downtime rules. I would look at Xanathar's for downtime rules. Treasure. Definitely read the treasure section. Treasure is a super, super important part of the game. There are rules in here. It tells you how much treasure you're supposed to give out, and all that good stuff. So take a look at that. I would say that's probably very, very important. I use this section all the time, and I have to be aware of these rules. There are a lot of these rules and things that, you know what, you can just fudge and make crap up and do your own way. It's not that big of a deal. Treasure is one of those things where you can throw your entire game out of balance. I get lots of people coming in, and with the standard question is, Luke, help! I gave my players too much treasure and magic items. What do I do now? And my first response is, stop watching videos who suggest that you should do that because they're morons. My second suggestion is, well, we won't go to that today. But anyway, so yes, check the rules out. This is important, the running the game. This gives you more information about how to adjudicate certain parts of the game. So I would definitely check that section out right there. Dungeon Master's Workshop. This is about homebrewing stuff, monsters and stuff. Not too big of a deal. That's like more advanced stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. Appendix A is very, very useful. It has random dungeons in it. You wouldn't necessarily use this to create a random dungeon. It does have lots of tables in it that has useful information for you to use as you create your adventures, and it can spark your inspiration and help you to decide certain things. So you wouldn't necessarily use it to make a random dungeon. Use it more as a reference tool, I would say. So there you go. There is an overview of some of the D&D books, or the rules dungeon masters should focus on learning. I said no to that one. Silverware versus fingers. Both. Depends on the situation. There are some things that should always be eaten with your fingers. Pizza should be eaten with your fingers unless you get pizza that's so sloppy and messy that it is like falling off the dough, and it's got like toppings that are falling off and stuff. There are some pizzas that you need to use like a fork with, but if it's not necessary, you should be picking that up and eating it. Dang it. This is ridiculous. I used to be on a team at my job, and we would go out to eat pizza every so often, and I crap you not, like everybody there would get their pizza and they'd use a fork to eat it. And I'm like, what is wrong with you people? This is like, remember the Seinfeld episode where they were eating a candy bar with they had a candy bar and they were cutting the candy bar with a knife and then using a fork to eat it? You guys, have you seen that Seinfeld episode? I'm like, what is wrong, man? Don't use a fork with pizza. Jeez. Unless it's not possible to pick it up with your hands. I have had pizzas that you literally could not pick the dang thing up because everything was falling off, and it was a hot sloppy mess. And I, with great reservation and a little bit of shame, used a fork. But it was only with my back against the wall. I had no choice but to use a fork. And now I have publicly admitted to doing it, and I am even more ashamed of my actions. But there are some people who do it all the time and they think nothing of it. Trying to be all fancy. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm too good to pick it up. I use a fork. Don't be fancy. I just insulted some people. Some people are like, Luke, I use a fork all the time. Yeah. Oh man. Oh crap. D&D Scotty, hey, thank you for the tier 1. I appreciate that, dude. Basalt 77, thank you for the tier 1, man. I appreciate that. You are very welcome. Said thanks for all the content. Great job. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Andy 7 Prime, thank you. Appreciate that. Lean Heart, thank you for the Prime. Dan Bayer, thank you for the Prime. Dan, hello, Dan. No soup for you. Hey, we're on a scam train, guys. Look at that. We're at level 2 scam train. 22%. Hey, Quasums, are you here? Quasums, Zach. We have a scam train going. He always throws bits at it. Look at him. He's like, here's some bits. Here's some bits. Ed, I appreciate the justification there. Look at mommy. She's like, give me some attention. Come on now, give me attention. You are forgiven, Ed. Everybody now needs to like type in their justification for using fork with a pizza. Or face eternal judgment. Okay, I answered that question. Mommy! Look at her. Mommy, what are you doing? Mommy. I gotta pet her, otherwise she'll just keep pawing at me. Mommy. I have planned a series of battles for a session, but I don't know how well my players would do when it's their first game. Should I run playtest, edit them on the wind, fudge things? Playtest, I don't. If I'm running something for my home group, my own players, I don't playtest it. I'm not gonna. I have too much stuff to do. I already planned the adventure. I'm not playtesting the adventure for you. You are the playtest. I would, dude, mommy. I would, until you know how good your players are in battle and what they can do and what they can't do, especially if they're new players, I would scale things and make it a little bit on the easier side. Just make it a little bit easier until you get a feel for what they can do and what they can handle. And then you can ratchet things up. So come in light and then ratchet things up in the future as you learn, as they learn, and as you see, as you learn about what they're able to do and what they're not able to do. Fudging things on the fly is perfectly fine too. There's nothing wrong with that. Not necessarily dice, but there are so many things you can change on the fly during a combat. The easiest thing you can do is just stop using optimal tactics. Like you don't have to fudge any game mechanics at all. If you simply, role-playing the monsters, decide to use a suboptimal tactic for a round to give the players a breather, catch their breath, and recover from a bad situation, that might be all it takes. And the players may notice it, they may not. You don't know, right? And never justify yourself. Never justify yourself. Players might be like, hey, wait a second, why did you stop attacking that guy and attack that guy? Just shrug and smile, Give them that little knowing smile. You know that you made the change to make the encounter less difficult. They don't know that. Don't tell them, do not show them what's behind the screen. Don't tell them anything. Let them wonder about it. And then they're gonna start thinking, wait a second, hold on a second. Maybe there's something going on here that we don't know, that we don't understand. Oh, crap. That's what you gotta do. Okay, you never tell them, never roll back the screen. Never roll back the screen. Even if they think they're onto something. Dude, my players have called my BS so many times over the years, but I keep my poker face on, I give that knowing smile, and then they start second questioning themselves. Then they make their own justifications and rationale for why what happened was actually legitimate and real. When I might have totally been like pulling some shenanigans or something as a dungeon master, but they talk themselves out of it and they make it real for themselves, and you don't have to do the work, they do the work for you. Oh, yay, we got some special emotes. Wee. Otu-san, thank you for the 100 bits, I appreciate that. What if you are at a formal black tie pizza party with Queen Elizabeth II? You wouldn't just pick it up, would you? Absolutely. Why wouldn't I? I'm absolutely going to pick the pizza up. Listen. If they're going to serve pizza at a formal black tie event, then the onus is upon them. They're the ones that decide to put pizza there. I am picking it up. I am going to proudly pick it up and eat that pizza, because that's how you eat pizza. And if all those folks want to take their silverware and eat that pizza, then I don't give a flying crap. I don't care who they are. You can't, what about, get me in trouble? Like, it'll be in the news, like, I'll be in the news, I'll be like, oh man, this American came to eat and he picked his pizza up, and I'll be like, dude, then I become famous. It's a win-win, baby. I'm not gonna change how I eat pizza because it's dumb. Mage hand, yes, thank you, that's awesome. A formal pizza party, oh, formal nacho party. They should serve nachos there. And then not only are you picking them up, but your hands are covered with cheese and salsa. And then you're licking your fingers also. Oh man, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful. Do you roll for the random encounters in your Curse of Strahd campaign, or do you just add them when you feel the time is right? Both. Sometimes I roll, sometimes I add them. Most of the time they're planned. How much should I braid together character arc and main arc in the same adventure? I don't know if I'm explaining. Yeah. I keep them separate. I have the main campaign arc has its own adventures, and then character arcs have their own adventures. I just keep them completely separate. Sometimes, if it's convenient, I might take a little piece of somebody's backstory and put it into a main campaign arc, but I usually don't. Usually people get their own entire adventures for it. It's it's easier for the dungeon master. It's a little bit cleaner for me, you know. You don't have to do it that way. You could blend the two together if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with that approach either. I'm simply just explaining how I do it, which isn't the only way, nor necessarily the correct way to do it. I'm starting an original D&D world for my friends. I've created a world map and a few other resources for the campaign, but I don't have a solid idea of where I want the direction of the campaign to go. And I know I want to run the game for my players' gameplay style, serious story, or just a hobo campaign. So how do I go about creating the plot, essentially? Well, all I know, dude, all I know is how I do it. And I open up a monster manual and I start flipping through until I find monsters that inspire me. If you want a plot for a campaign, then you're gonna want to start with higher level monsters. Depends on how long you want your game to run for. I would look for a CR10, CR12, CR15 monster. Maybe 20 or so, but that's gonna be like a really long campaign. I would start smaller. If you're asking this question, then it sounds like this might be one of the few times you've dungeon mastered, in which case I would bite off a smaller chunk as opposed to a larger chunk. So plan a shorter campaign. Plan for a campaign that goes to level 10. So your main villain of that campaign might be a CR12 or something that they're gonna fight when they're level 12, and he'll have some minions, of course, with him. And then if they get that far and your game doesn't fall apart, because most games fall apart before you get that far, but if you're still going strong, well, then you just have another villain that will take them through the rest of the game until they get to level 20 or something. But the way to do it is to flip through the monster manuals until you find some cool monsters that inspire you, and then you just have to brainstorm, dude. There's no shortcut to this. There's nothing you can do to shortcut the creative process, really. Like there aren't people that are going to write it for you. You know, you have to think about it and use your noggin, and think and be creative and say, okay, cool, I found a vampire. Great, this is an awesome vampire. What are they, CR12 or something like that? Cool, I got a vampire. I want this to be the bad guy. All right, sweet. What's the plot? What could the plot possibly be? What's going on? Well, plot means the vampire needs to have something he wants to do. He needs to have a motivation. He needs to have goals. He needs to have something he's trying to do in the game world. And that thing that he's trying to do needs to cause conflict in the game world. Okay, so you need to decide what he's trying to achieve, what he's trying to do, and then you need to decide how is that creating conflict in the game world. Because once you have those two elements, then the players come along, their characters come along, and they see conflict. Aha! We are the heroes. We're going to resolve that conflict. And they start resolving that conflict. And then the vampires' plans are being thwarted, and eventually they're going to find out that they've been resolving this conflict and solving these problems, and oh no, now we know who the big bad is, and eventually we got to go fight him. But that's the key. Find a monster, find out what his goals and motivations are, what he's trying to do that causes conflict in the game world, decide what that conflict is, That forms the spine of your adventures for your game. And then the players go about solving those problems, and eventually they get to the big bad and they fight him. That is the thought process behind coming up with a plot. So there's a process for you. That's how I do it. I'm out of coffee, you guys. Did you guys never tell me I was out of coffee? Did anybody here let me know of the coffee problem? Anybody? Anybody? Headstone told me? Well, Headstone, thank you, sir. You are the man. It wasn't on the coffee can? Look at this. You see what the shirt says? You see what the shirt says? Coffee was said. All right. I'm gonna get some more coffee. Let's do a cat strike. Let's do a cat strike. And then I'm gonna get more coffee. Oh my gosh, we're getting low. We're getting low. What's that, Squeaky? What's that, Squeaky? Okay, I'm gonna get coffee. We'll do cat strike. I'll get coffee. We'll keep the questions going. Keep throwing your questions in the chat so my moderators can grab your questions. Wow, this is kind of light. We're getting low here. I'm gonna have to open up the other one. I'm getting my backup out. That one was kind of empty. Man. Ooh, we have the fresh ones. They're gonna like this. The fresh ones. Ooh, this is backyard cookout flavor. Backyard cookout. Oh, my cats are so spoiled. Oh. Any tips for playing monsters tactically at the lower levels? Not really. You use a lot of the same tactics apply whether you're at the low levels or the mid levels or the high levels. I mean, basic tactics are the same. Spells are going to get more powerful. Abilities are going to change a lot, but some of the basic tactics always work. You want to have a mix. You want to have some melee type characters and some ranged monsters. You always have melee monsters and ranged monsters in any encounter, almost any encounter. The melees are going to try to lock down the frontline fighters. The ranged attackers are going to try to take out the wizards and clerics or something. Spellcasters are going to find cover. They're going to pop up, they're going to cast a spell, they're going to find cover, they're going to go around a corner or something so they can't be targeted. A lot of these basic tactics are kind of the same. When a character reveals they can cast spells, your bad guys are immediately going to start targeting that spellcaster. Spellcasters are dangerous. Everybody knows that spellcasters, wizards, and clerics are dangerous. They're going to use tactics that once as an enemy spellcaster has been identified, you use tactics to take them out. I mean, yeah, there's just a lot of basic tactics and things like that you would do. If a cleric starts healing word people and getting them back from the dead, enemies will start stabbing downed characters a few times to make sure they're dead. Or they will target that cleric to try to stop them from raising the dead and stuff like that. You know, they might do stuff like, geez, they might drop somebody down to 0 and then drag them around the corner so they can't have a healing word cast on them. I don't know. Think of different things like that. You know, there's lots of different tactics you can use. The biggest thing I recommend, you guys, the biggest thing I recommend, yes, the old DM just mentioned it. The monsters know what they are doing. I'm gonna put a link to that. Do I have that? Hold on a second. Do I have that in my Amazon store? That is one of the best books you can get. The monsters know what they're doing. That guy is Keith something or other is his name who wrote it. That dude's awesome. Hold on a second. Let me see if that's in my store. Hopefully that's in my store. It should be. This is a great book. Aman? Okay, thank you. It should be D&D books I use. Hold on a second. Yes, it's there. Okay, it's there. So, and I'll put a direct link in the chat to it too. Yes, yeah, he has a website. You can Google it too. That book right there, I have that book. The cats. It's right there. That's the book you want. Full of tactics. This dude is awesome. I love this guy. Yeah, go check that out. Is another one coming out? Okay, cool. That's awesome. That's beautiful. I've been meaning to reach out to that guy too. Have him come on a live stream or something, because I love his blog is cool. The book is cool. Yeah, he's doing some cool stuff. So anyway, one of these days, Luke will make some time for that. What was I doing? What was I doing? Here we go. If a 4th level fighter wearing chainmail and wielding a greatsword decided to multi-class with a druid at 5th level, would they still get to wear the metal armor and use the greatsword? Yes, because they're proficient with it. I think druid in 5th edition no longer has any not using metal armor restrictions. I don't think it has any of those restrictions. And if you're proficient with it, then you're able to use it. I'm pretty sure those are the rules. I mean, I'd have to read the rules, but it's just a matter of seeing if it bars. The thing is, we often get confused older editions rules with newer editions rules. And I don't think 5th edition has any stipulations against a druid wearing metal armor. I don't think. I'd have to read the rules though, but you know, you could go read the rules too. Sorry. How would you rule enemies chucking swords at your PC? Your opinion on throwing weapons in general? If you're throwing a sword which was not designed to be thrown, then I would say you probably have disadvantage on the attack and you don't have proficiency with it either. That would probably be my ruling. The swords are not meant to be thrown. I don't care how many times you see it in movies, they're not a throwing weapon. They're not balanced properly. There's far more likelihood of a sword hitting the flat of the blade, not cutting, hitting with the hilt, not hitting the target. No, very doesn't work. Can you choose to do non-lethal range damage? No. I've heard people say it can and others say it can't. Well, that's because they don't read the rules. And they're just arguing about it. It literally says, if you look it up, it literally says that when you hit an enemy with a melee weapon attack, you can choose to do non-lethal damage instead of lethal. Literally what the rules say. Oh, can you choose to do non-lethal damage? I say you can't. My ruling is that you can't. So, and here's my rationale. If you are attacking somebody with like a sword or an axe, then it is possible for you to maybe hit them in a part of the body that is not as lethal or something, or to hit with the butt of it or the flat of the blade or something. If you're shooting a ranged weapon at the person, you could actually, if you wanted to allow it, you probably could, because you could, you could technically probably shoot them in the leg or something that's not going to kill them, in the same way you might hit them with the axe in a place that wouldn't kill them. And you could probably say that spells, you could do the same thing. I could cast the firebolt at his leg or something. So I don't know. You could actually probably, if you wanted to. So per the rules as written, it's only with melee weapon attacks. That's the rules as written. However, if as a dungeon master you want to house rule it and say that with any attack you can do non-lethal, I don't think there's any problem with that. I would probably say that if you were gonna do that, you have them declare non-lethal beforehand or something. Maybe, I don't know. It's house ruling. It's a gray area. I wouldn't see any problems with it, in all honesty. If you wanted to house rule it that way, it's the whole rule itself kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense. In all honesty, it's not a rule based around realism, anyway. Unless if you wanted to make the rule super realistic, then if you're attempting non-lethal damage, you'd have to do like less damage or something, or attack with disadvantage, or make it more difficult. But that's not necessarily super fun, so lots of people probably wouldn't like that, but I don't know. If you want to do it, there's nothing wrong with it, I guess, is my final answer. Does alignment matter? No. Occasionally you get a player who will actually roleplay their alignment. Most of the time, players just do what they want to do. I would say that alignment is a useful tool for a player to roleplay their character if they want to. Other than that, it's kind of like a vestigial organ of D&D. If you could create a new subclass, what would it be? Nothing. I care nothing about subclasses. Zip, zero, zilch. As a dungeon master, I care nothing about subclasses. Monsters? Yeah, give me some monsters, baby. I can always use monsters, but subclasses, couldn't care less. In fact, the more subclasses we get, the more broken combinations and combos come out, and the closer we get to D&D 6th edition. Holy long question. It's in blue though, so it's probably worth my reading. You ended up with your own alignment? What? Oh, I missed some context there. Spells with the but the rules say whatever. It doesn't really matter. Oh, now you want me to look it up? Okay. Ooh. Okay, reducing an enemy to 0 hit points. I feel like this rule is going to be in the combat section. All right, let's literally look at the rules right now. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong camera. Knocking a creature out right here. Sometimes an attacker wants to incapacitate a foe rather than deal a killing blow. When an attacker reduces a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack. Melee attack. It has to be melee. It actually doesn't say weapon attack. It doesn't say weapon attack. Melee attack. But it doesn't say spell attack, does it? Does it say spell attack? No, it doesn't say spell attack, does it? It says melee attack. Melee, spell. Melee, spell. Melee, right? Spells are not melee. Melee is like, weapons and... Well, hold on a second. No, because it wouldn't say weapon. It would say melee weapon attack. It just says melee attack. So it could be a melee weapon or a melee spell, right? It just can't be ranged. So if your spell attack, how do you have a melee spell attack though? Is there such a thing as a melee spell attack? Shocking Grasp? Inflict wounds is a melee spell attack? Ooh, wait, hold on a second. There are tons of them. Really? Really? Holy crap, I'm learning something new today. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Okay, hold on. My mind is, hold on, inflict. Oh, because you're making a melee attack. Oh, because it's an attack roll. Luke is learning today. It is, it's a melee spell attack. Oh my word, look at this. Holy crap. So I've been wrong this whole time. My players should overthrow the game and kick me out. Melee spell attack, inflict wounds. Oh, okay, there you go. There we go. Beautiful. Look at that. I was so adamant that I was right and knew what I was talking about, and I was totally wrong. Where's this thing? Yeah. Okay, so it's a melee attack. So as long as it's a spell attack, if it can be a melee spell attack or a melee weapon attack. All right. Bingo bango, there you go. I eat crow, and it tastes beautiful. All right. Oh, I was gonna read this super long question, too. I just manned up. That mage. My question is that should a DM ever kill a problematic player off? The reason I'm asking is because I got to play another person's campaign, so I played a halfling lord. Okay, yeah, blah 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 blah. Mind flayer, hit points, blah. DM cast Feel Mind. So wait a second. You're basically saying, should a DM ever kill a problematic player off, and then you were the problematic player? Is that what you're saying? Okay, you played okay, hold on. Now, maybe the context is actually important. I was like blah, 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 blah over all of the filler details, but maybe the filler details are actually relevant to the question. Okay, so let's go to that again. I played a halfling, so you have luck. Okay, luck. Okay. Lore bard, okay. Divination wizard. Okay, so we have a halfling divination wizard. Did you take the lucky feat? Who had a ring of mind shielding. Okay. Me and my party, a boss mind flayer. So you must have been fighting the mind flayer. I was pretty low on hit points and cast invisibility on myself. Okay, you're invisible. Got it. The DM had cast Feeble Mind on my character, even though I was invisible and had my ring. I'd failed the roll. And he had me rule a new character. Okay. So are you saying that you were the problematic player and you feel like your dungeon master killed you off? Is that what you're saying? Ring of Mind Shielding. I wonder what that does. Hold on, let's take a look at this. Ring of Mind Shielding. Ring of Mind Shielding. Let's take a look at this. Oh, you can, oh, okay. That doesn't actually have anything to do with feeble-minded, though. I don't think that has anything to do with feeble-minded. So it doesn't prevent feeble-minded. And then what was the other thing that was interesting about that question? Feeble Mind. I wanted to look up Feeble Mind. You have to be able to see. You can see. Yeah, you blast the mind of a creature you can see within range. Yeah, I mean, if you were invisible, then Feeble Mind should not have been able to be cast on you. Yeah. He was targeted while being invisible despite not being able to be physically detected because of the ring. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, okay, there's two ways to look at this. There's two ways to look at it. Your dungeon master ignored some of the requirements of being able to target you, it sounds like, and had you targeted anyway. So you could say, you know, that he was cheating or breaking the rules or something. You could make that argument. A dungeon master could also make the counter argument that the dungeon master can make up whatever rules he wants and change things however he wants, you know. However, there is a satisfying way for that to be done, and there is an unsatisfying way for that to be done. And the way that it happened to you is the latter. That is the unsatisfying way for that to be done. It was clear that he was breaking the rules on something. He shouldn't have been able to do it, and there was really no rationale for it, except that more than likely in that situation, he just wanted to do it, sort of thing. So, when I run my monsters, they are not beholden to follow traditional rules and stuff. I can give them legendary resistances whenever I want to. You know, I can change their hit points. I can make an orc could have more hit points an orc would normally have. A goblin could get several attacks if I wanted them to, you know. So there's like, I can change the rules and stuff like that. But there's I feel like there are ways to do it that are more enjoyable for the players, and then there are ways to do it that just feels sleazy, like you're screwing them over. And the way that you got done felt like the sleazy way of doing it. Yeah. So that wasn't your question though. Your question is it okay to kill off problematic players? I don't think a dungeon master should kill off a problematic player, no. But why were you being a problematic player? Like, I'm just curious now. Like, what were you doing that you felt your dungeon master killed you off? Do you feel, if you're still here, that mage, do you feel that you were your character was killed because the character itself was like a broken build or causing problems in the game? Or was your character killed because you were being a problem player and doing things that was pissing the DM off, like arguing with him or just being a little snot or something? Like, okay, here we go. You are still here. Excellent. He was very mad that I manipulated his monster dice rolls. So he just didn't like the fact that you were running that character then. So he killed your character off because he didn't like that character. Okay, well, he's an idiot. You don't do that. No. You built a character that manipulates dice rolls. That is what the divination wizard does. That's what the lucky feat does. I think the lucky feat does that. That's, you know, the halfling lucky ability. That's kind of what it does. Now, the divination wizards, and I think the lucky feat also, I think, specifically screws with monster dice rolls. That's exactly what that does. That's the whole point of it. That's what it does. I had Sympaticos ran a divination wizard with the lucky feat in a game once. And it screws with the monster's dice rolls. But it's like, as the dungeon master, you allowed that character. Now there's a difference between allowing something and then discovering what it really means. Obviously, I've allowed players to make, for instance, different PCs that I didn't think would be a problem, but then it turned out to be a problem. But I would talk with them. I would try to have a conversation, be like, yo, dude, this is what I'm seeing. I'm concerned about this. I'd like to make some changes because I don't like it, blah, 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 whatever. You try to talk about that and you have a conversation like adults to resolve it and make it better for everybody. You don't just kill them off. That's a bad idea. That's really stupid. It's immature is what it is. So if he killed you off because of that, I would say that that's a very bad taste. You know, he should have talked with you and spoken with you and been like, hey, you know, I don't like this or whatever. Now, here's the thing. He's the dungeon master. So he has every right to say divination wizards are not allowed in my game. He has every right to say there's no multi-classing allowed. He has every right to say there are no halflings in my games. He has every right to make those rules. He is running the game. He is the dungeon master. But there are good ways to go about doing something, and there are bad ways to go about doing something. You do things the right way, and then your players are usually like okay with it, and you have a fun game. You do things the wrong way, and then players get upset about it, you know, and feel like you're screwing them over. So he should have spoken with you about it, you know, and you guys should have figured something out that would be mutually agreed upon or something, you know. So he was definitely not in the right, in my opinion, like killing you off intentionally for doing that, you know. So anyway, there's one man's opinion on that situation. Ooh, there's the halfling. Bountiful Luck. The halfling feat, Bountiful Luck. I saw that in action one game session, and then that got put on my no use list. Nobody uses that anymore. How do I know when to and when not to Divine Smite? I am playing a Dragonborn Paladin in Storm King's Thunder and am scared to waste Divine Smites. Divine Smites are like your... Okay, so first of all, the best time to use a smite, the very best time to use a smite is when you got a critical hit. If you get a critical hit, if you roll a 20, then your Divine Smite damage, those dice get rolled twice instead of once. So as a Paladin, whenever you get a critical hit, you should think, are we in a bad situation right now? Would it be beneficial for me to do a crap ton of damage right now to this enemy? If you're in a bind and the battle is a tight one and it's a powerful foe and you get a critical hit as a Paladin, you should probably Divine Smite. If you're fighting a little bunch of wussies and stuff and it's not that big of a deal, don't Divine Smite, even because you got a crit. You want to save it for the beefier guys. But if you're fighting somebody that's beefy and it looks like a really tough battle and you need some damage output and you crit, always Divine Smite probably. Otherwise they are spell slots. You know, I would save them until you get to the end of the adventure. I would save them until you really are in a jam and you need to deal some damage to some bad guys and take them down. Even if you don't crit, if you're in a bad spot, that's when you use the Divine Smite. You lay out some massive amounts of damage. So that's, yeah, I tend to save my resources. When I'm a player, I tend to save my resources until I really need them. Until we get to, we're in a tough fight, or I think it's like the boss of the adventure, and then I'll start using my resources and stuff. That's just how I play as a player. I have played Paladin a little bit, not extensively, and I've seen a Paladin in action. Obviously, I've seen Paladins in action, obviously, quite a bit. Those are my thoughts on how I would go about doing that. But I'm not, player a lot, so whenever you ask me player advice, you should always take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm almost always a dungeon master. What's my favorite type of food? Italian? No, not Italian. Unless you consider pizza Italian, then in that case, I like pizza a lot. But most Italian food, it's like, really? Pasta? Really? Pasta? Pasta? Okay. Indian? No. Mexican? I like my wife's food. My favorite food is what my wife makes. My wife is from Central America, and her food is amazing. So that's my favorite type of food. And that's the truth. Pizza is really good though. Barbecue ribs are really good on the grill. Chicken made on the grill is really good. We had steak that was really good too. Ribs are good, and yeah, that's really good stuff. I like cereal with milk and protein powder in it. That's really good too. I like some salad with dressing and stuff like that. That's pretty good. Beans are really good. I like beans a lot too. Lentils, that's pretty good stuff right there. Ice cream with brownies. Ooh, that's pretty good too. What else we got going on? What else we got? Oh, stew, like beef, potato, carrot stew. Oh, chili with cornbread. Oh, dude, I haven't had chili with cornbread in like years. It's been years since I've had chili with cornbread. Oh man. Dang. We need some chili with cornbread. That is so good. Wow. Wow. All right. Oh, I want my chili with cornbread. I'm making everybody hungry. Venison. Oh, venison is awesome. Dude, venison is so good. Come to Virginia. Ed, dude, Virginia's not even that far away from me, man. Is it West Virginia or normal? Isn't there like two Virginias? There's like a West Virginia and a normal Virginia. Which one is it? Is it it must be the normal one. You would have said West Virginia if it was the real Virginia. It's not that far from me, except that I have to drive through like a bunch of mountains and crap, dude. A normal Virginia. The chalky milk. I don't even know if your chalky milk one got in the spreadsheet. Oh, it is. What is your chalky to milk ratio for chalky milk? I don't I've never drunk chalky milk. I'm gonna go with 1 to 1. That's my professional opinion on chalky milk. Do I hunt? No, I don't hunt. My brother hunts. When my brother was in high school, he would get more deer with his truck than he would with his gun. He would go like 90 miles an hour down country roads and smoke deer. He hit a bunch of pheasants once. Got him stuck in the grill of his truck. He's hit a couple deer with his truck when he was like younger. You know, he would just speed and he'd hit all these animals. And then he'd go out hunting and not get anything. It's an expensive way to get deer though, by smashing up your truck. A kill is a kill. That's called redneck deer hunting. Oh, Ed, I'm just now seeing your question at the very beginning of the spreadsheet. For some reason, I was scrolled down just a little tad, and I didn't even see it up there. Okay, so I'm going to read it now. Ed was like, Luke's ignoring me. What a jerk. I'm going to drive up and find him. I would never ignore you, man. You're awesome. All right, he says, great video today. Thank you, sir. I have a fourth DMing style for you. Oh dear. Linear sandbox. That's how I think of most of my campaigns. There's a central storyline, but it becomes more prominent towards the end. More sandbox early with few linear adventures, and the script flips as it gets closer to the end. I'm interested in your thoughts on that kind of style and what you think the strengths and weaknesses are in comparison to the other style. So it's a mix of the two. Yeah. It's very open-ended, sandboxy at the beginning, and then it turns more toward linear, where they're going after a main bad guy or something. Yeah. I feel like a lot of my games start out the opposite way. It starts out linear, where there are fewer options. Not my Curse of Strahd. My Curse of Strahd was planned as a sandbox, but a lot of my games will start out linear, and then as complications and different things happen, and I pull in stuff from the backstories, then they become more sandboxy, where there are a lot more options of what to do. So I kind of tend to do the opposite thing. So yeah, I'm curious, why does it become more linear as you progress? Like, what's your rationale behind that? I'm just curious why you run it that way. Like, what advantages do you get from that? I don't think I've done it that way before. I've done it the opposite way for sure, where it's linear at first and then becomes sandboxy. You found the longer the campaign goes on, the more players want to focus on the main story. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder, dude, to what extent that's because they want to finish. You know, it's like we're like level 15 now. We've been playing for quite some time. Let's finish this campaign. Let's get this guy. Let's beat him up. Let's kill him. And so they drive more toward finishing that. And that comes to mind because when I was doing my Sword Coast Guard campaign, that's how it happened. Basically, we were playing my standard. It was kind of linear, but there were some options as well, but it was kind of linear. But once we had decided that we wanted to play Curse of Strahd, my players were like, yeah, you know, we'd like to finish this campaign up so that we can play Curse of Strahd. And at that point, it became 100% linear because we were trying to finish the campaign with the goal of moving on to Curse of Strahd. So I remember that happening for sure. They get invested in the story the more they get involved, and once they get to the higher levels, they want the bad guy. Yep, I can see that happening. Yeah, that makes sense. At the very beginning, they don't really care too much about the story, and so they're like, whatever, we'll do whatever. And then if you can get them invested, they just want to beeline to that guy. That makes 100% sense. And I think that you're totally right in that if you can sense that your players want to get the bad guy and they're invested in the story, then 100% that's probably the time to ratchet it into a linear so they can just do the main storyline and get to the bad guy. I know my Curse of Strahd players were getting really, really pissed off with Lord Paxton. They were sick and tired of Lord Paxton. I was doing so many things to screw with them. Lord Paxton was constantly doing things to them. And they were like, we need to kill this guy. I could just tell they just wanted to go find this guy and murder him as quickly as possible. They were sick of him. And that's a form of being invested in the story, obviously. Yeah, that makes sense, dude. Is that not true, Simpaticos? Did you guys not care? Because I thought that you guys were like, we hate this guy. This guy sucks. Let's go kill him. I did so many things to screw with you guys with Lord Paxton. He was always sending mercenaries after you, assassins, all manner of horse crap that I could think of to get you guys upset at Lord Paxton. I know, that was mommy. Mommy cat was here doing that. So I don't know, Ed, if that kind of addressed your thing there. It definitely sounds like a good way to do it if you can feel your players are invested in the story. For sure, dude. Xskips says subversive characters versus cliche characters. Opinions, what's more tolerable? Cliche characters. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Give me a cliched character any day of the week before you give me a player that is being subversive and undermining the game, undermining the adventures. I mean, a cliched character is not really going to ruin anybody's fun. Subversive characters will ruin your fun, and they can just cause problems in your game. So yeah, I don't want that crap. No way, dude. I'm getting to the end of the questions, so if you have questions, you'd best put them in the chat. Otherwise, Luke's gonna stop talking, which might be what you want. The old DM, thank you for the 100 bits from 43 minutes ago. Fox Bolt Hero, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Do we have a community goal? Penguin Butt. Why do we not have a community goal? Penguin Butt, this is your job. Your job is to make sure that we always have a community goal going on. Oh, and then she's blaming me. Oh, you want unemployment money, don't you? Is that what you're going for? Hey, Penguin Butt, can you start like pinging, talking? You guys are all having side conversations during the stream. So if you can talk with folks and try to figure out what we should have to be our next community goal, see what people want, and then you get to make the final call and tell me what the community goal is going to be, and then we'll get that set up. Simpaticos is like hashtag fire penguin. That's awesome. We want push-ups. I have an adventure where I want the party to turn around before moving forward in the dungeon. I'm thinking of using a puzzle to stop them. Are there better ways? Why do you want to stop them? Why was the dungeon created that they couldn't go forward in to begin with? Like why stop them? What's the point? Thunderous Dragon, thank you for the Prime. I appreciate that. You were very welcome, dude. I'm happy to help, man. I'm glad you like the videos, dude. Where was the... Okay, who is that? Sparky Rooster. Sparky Rooster, I asked you a question. He's like, look, I'm typing. I'm trying to type. Ah, stop pressuring me. Ah. I want to break up the campaign so they go on a side quest. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like that. I would rather give them the option of going on a side quest, but allowing them to continue forward if they wanted to. And then incentivize them with something for the side quest. Make it tempting or something. I'd rather give the players the choice than force them a certain way. It always feels better than forcing them, you know, a certain way. I don't know. That's my gut. That's kind of my gut, especially if they're in the middle of a dungeon. You just said they were in the middle of a dungeon. You know, they're in the dungeon. Let them finish at least the dungeon. Once they get that dungeon and that adventure over with, then if you want to introduce a side quest and then that be the option, that's okay because you're just running a linear game. That's not a big deal. But if they're in the middle of a dungeon, going through a dungeon, and to stop them in the middle of, that just feels like they want to finish the dungeon. Let them finish the dungeon before they go on a side quest. That's kind of what it feels like to me. Bram Silverleaf says, Luke, you work your butt off for all of us and we appreciate it. Well, thank you, dude. Thank you for saying so. It's always good to hear that. Is my coffee getting low? I don't know. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Basalt says, I was glad to see your video today. I'm running Dragon Heist at the moment and starting to feel like I'm railroading, but it's exactly as written. Yeah, you're running the... Dude, every module, not every module, but most modules are linear. They have to be. It's really, really, really hard to write a sandbox module. And even when you have a module that's like Curse of Strahd and they're like, oh, it's a sandbox. It's a sandbox. It's not really a sandbox because the different adventures were designed for different levels. And if the different adventures are designed for different levels, that's the linear part of it. They're intended to be run in a certain way. My wife is making hummus. My wife is making hummus. I can hear her. I can hear the blender. And when the blender starts up, that usually means hummus. So, yeah, the only way to make a module that's actually a true sandbox is every single adventure in there is made for a wide variety of levels. They have to like customize each adventure so that it can be run at first level, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh. Each adventure with different monsters and quantities of monsters. That's the only way you can make a module a true sandbox. I can do that when I homebrew because I can adjust things on the fly, but to write the module that way, now a dungeon master could tweak a module that way, take a second level adventure and turn it into a fourth level adventure. That's not hard, but like to write the module that way, nah. Most modules are linear. Even if they say they're sandbox, they're not. They're linear. They are, because they designed the different adventures for certain levels of characters. You can't get around that inescapable fact, no matter how much you want to argue otherwise. You find a crumbling wall in the dungeon that leads to a side quest. Yeah, you could totally do that. You gotta tempt them though. You gotta tempt them. There's gotta be a reason for them to go that way. I'm running a curse with Strahd, and I have a player who's made a deal with Strahd and is working for him for safety of the party. When should I have Strahd betray my player? First of all, Strahd doesn't have to betray him. That's the first thing. He doesn't have to. We're role-playing Strahd. What is Strahd's goal and motivation? So he has two things. He kind of wants to test the characters and see what they're made out of. He wants to see if anybody might be worthy of replacing him as Lord of Barovia. Ultimately, nobody's really worthy of that. He's mostly toying with them. He's playing with them. He's going to throw challenges with them. He's going to visit them from time to time. He's going to taunt them. He's going to lord his power over them. If I were doing what you're doing, sir, this is just my take on it. You do what you want. I would probably have Strahd try to convince that one player to basically lead the other players into horrible circumstances and stuff. Ultimately, have that, if I could somehow, have that one character be responsible for the demise of everybody else. And when everybody else was dead, then that one character who was working with Strahd would come before Strahd and be like, look it, I did it. I took them all out. I helped you. And then at that point, Strahd would betray that character. I don't know how. He would do something horrible, but basically as a way to say, you fool. You played right into my hand. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. And now I'm going to let you know how stupid you are to have trusted me and to have worked with me. And then that's when the betrayal would happen. Just when the character thought they had achieved the highest goals, when they thought they were like victorious, that's the proper time to have Strahd cut them down to size and show them the futility of having made a deal with them in the first place. So if I were role-playing Strahd, that's like probably how I would go about doing that. Melendel says, I'm trying to write a campaign, but every time I've DM'd, I tend to give too much information to the players. What is a good tactic to get to stop doing this? Basically, my poker face is crappy. Yeah, so if you're giving too much information to the characters, my advice to you is to stop giving too much information to the characters. Just don't tell them that much. But there's a difference between giving them too much information and having a bad poker face too. I don't think giving, it depends on what the information is. You don't want to ruin things for them. You don't want to ruin mysteries for them. When you ruin mysteries for them prematurely and they don't get to find out in the natural course of the game, that can be very unsatisfying for players. Very, very unsatisfying. Which is why I always recommend you don't show them what's behind the Dungeon Master screen. You don't want them to see how the sausage is made. It's not satisfying, no matter how much they say they want to know. Oh, Luke, you know, did you fudge that encounter at all? Did we legitimately win, or did you let us win? You never tell them that. It doesn't matter that they want to know. So one of the things too, sometimes my players will ask me this, they'll be like, Luke, did we miss anything in that dungeon? Was there something else in that adventure? Was there a secret room we didn't find? Or was there some treasure we didn't find? You never tell them that stuff, ever. You never let them know that you have to keep your mouth shut about that crap. So that sort of information ruins the game, right? And you don't want to tell them that. Now, other sorts of information you want to be free with. I tend to be free with other sorts of information that don't ruin the game and aren't showing them behind the Dungeon Master screen. You know, like if they're fighting against Githyanki, for instance, and they're trying to figure out what they know about these creatures, and they're using their history checks or arcana checks and stuff to try to figure out what they know about these creatures, I'm going to give them some useful information. I don't have any problem with them knowing, hey, you know, these guys are native to the astral plane. I might give them a little bit of lore about the Lich Queen that they serve and stuff. I might tell them about the original Gith who were enslaved to the Mind Flayers, and then they fought, and then a lot of times Githyanki are allied with dragons. You know, there's this agreement with Tiamat. I might give them a bunch of that information. That's cool lore, that's interesting lore. So I'm free with that sort of information because that enriches the game and makes the game just feel cooler and more interesting. So that sort of lore or that sort of information, even though it still helps them and it gives them an advantage possibly when they're fighting the Githyanki, I tend to be free with that information. I don't hold that and guard that. That's not the sort that I guard, you know what I mean? So it depends on what you're giving away, but not everything is bad to give away, you know? Some of it's good for the game. I can't help you with your poker face though. I don't know how to do that. Luke, you're not a fan of PvP. How would you work with one player playing with Strahd? I probably wouldn't. Like, I gave you my recommendation for how I would roleplay Strahd, trying to get one player to betray the others, but I would probably not do that. Probably not. Here's the thing. In my Curse of Strahd game right now, there is one of the players who, like, I'm using Strahd to tempt him. I'm trying to get Strahd. Strahd is basically offering him special powers and stuff if he works with him a little bit and all this kind of stuff. I know part of me is like, this is my player Joe. He might go along with it, but I don't think he will, you know. But even if he does, it would be everybody at the game table would know what's going on. Like, I'm not going to hide for this particular one, at least. I'm not hiding the fact that Strahd is giving preferential treatment to Joe's character, Eyes, and trying to tempt him with certain things. And if Eyes decides to go over to Strahd's side, it will be out of character knowledge. Like, all the players and everybody will know that is going on, you know, you know what I mean? I almost feel though that in a game like Curse of Strahd, that sort of thing is a little bit more plausible and acceptable, possibly just because of the horror aspect of that campaign and stuff. There's a right way to go about doing it. And I'm tempting. I know my players, and I know Eyes, and I'm tempting him in a certain way, but I don't think he's ultimately going to give into it and like actually betray his party. I don't think he would actually do that. You know, so I'm kind of playing it safe in a way. I'm doing that, but I know I'm probably safe. He's not going to actually do anything. If I were playing now, if you reverse the situation, if it weren't my Curse of Strahd players, if I were with my youngling players, oh, they would backstab their friends in a moment. My youngling players, oh man, if I offered like say Caden or Carlos the opportunity to ally with a bad guy and then backstab Kate and Naomi's characters, oh, they'd backstab them in a heartbeat. They would backstab them all day long. They would love it. It would be the most fun thing in the world to go PvP and backstab their friends. Oh yes, absolutely. So for those players, I know I can't do that because they'll do it. So it's part of it is knowing your players and knowing what they would do and wouldn't do, and being able to trust it in a little bit of their maturity or just how they role play. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a calculated risk. Yeah. Okay, Penguin Butt. Can you give me a summary of the ideas? What are the ideas? What about in the spreadsheet? Can you put them in the spreadsheet, and then I can review them all at once? What would I need to do to get you to try or experiment with chalky milk? I have no idea. Pin Warp, thank you for the Prime. Really appreciate that, dude. I'm behind in chat. Sorry. I'm pretty far behind in chat. Oh yeah, PvP is bad. There's no balance in D&D. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Brimstone or whatever, dude. Shocked face. The most obvious turncoat in the history of D&D? No, I don't think Joe's actually going to. He thinks about it, he talks about it and stuff like that. I don't think he would actually do it. I don't think he would. We can make Luke sit there and stare at food all stream and not be able to touch it. Well, what is that all about? He's clearly doing it in a way where he isn't going to screw the rest of us over. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Trevor. Yes. Yeah, that's the thing. Joe, he might be wanting to do it and get power and stuff, but he's probably not going to screw you over. Like, even if he tries to like get some of the power and stuff from Strahd, he's not doing it in a way, and I'm trusting him not to do it in a way that's going to screw you guys all over. Exactly. Yeah. At the very end of the module, that's a different story. Where's Dan? I haven't seen Dan saying, is Dan here? I haven't seen Dan. Dan's usually here. Why isn't Dan here? Oh, there he is. I haven't been looking at chat a whole lot, so maybe Dan has been here the whole time, and I just haven't noticed him. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm behind in chat. Knight, hello. Long time viewing, first time chat. Love your show, mate. Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate that. Goliath cleric. Oh yes. Well, where was his question? When a trap is totally obvious, why do players dive straight into it, but they try to disarm and avoid the hidden ones? Curiosity killed the cat. Dude, you have no idea. The obvious traps are the best ones. They're the best ones because there's always one player who's like, but it's a big red button. It's a big red button. Ah, I gotta go for that trap. Ah, and they're like, dude, the obvious traps never fail to disappoint, ever. It's beautiful. There's always someone who goes for it and springs it, and then everybody pays. It's beautiful. It just happens. It's just, and those are the players. I love those players. Those players just make my day. I can count on them. They're like the gift that keeps on giving. Do you think Wizards of the Coast will ever do another pure monster book? Or will it be new settings or splat books? They have to eventually, I would imagine. I think I mean, why wouldn't they? Like, Dungeon Master, well, okay, there's sales. I'm sure they're looking at sales. Part of the decision on what books to make are which ones are selling well. And so I would imagine they're looking at their sales and they're like, okay, when we make monster books like Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's, these are our sales. When we make setting books like Eberron, these are our sales. When we make modules like Storm King's Thunder, these are our sales. And I'm sure they're analyzing their sales and what books do well and what books don't do well. And I guarantee you, they're a company, they're a business. They have to make decisions based upon what's selling and what's not. Because ultimately, what's selling and what's not is a reflection of the market. It is a reflection of what people want and what they don't want. And so if you have low sales on something, that tells you that's good, valuable information. Now, it just so happens, though, of course, that there are lots more players than there are dungeon masters. So books that are primarily geared toward dungeon masters will have lower sales, almost assuredly. So books like Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes are probably going to trend lower on the sales than books like Eberron. Is that a player book? Well, okay, Xanathar's Guide to Everything, Tasha's Cauldron. Those types of books, I imagine, sell crap tons. You know, but modules, probably players don't buy a whole bunch of modules and stuff, and they keep making modules. So sales can't influence every decision, obviously, then. Yeah, they got to make more monster books. I can't see them not making more monster books. It only makes sense to make more monster books because every dungeon master in the world buys those things. Like modules, not every dungeon master is going to buy every module that comes out. But I almost guarantee you that when a monster book comes out, 90% of dungeon masters are buying it. I feel pretty confident in that. So they got to make more of those. I feel. I'm out of coffee. DEFCON C? What's DEFCON C? I'm behind in chat. I swear Luke needs that on a t-shirt. It's practically his second catchphrase. Would it be a decent idea to have players create NPCs, tavern owners, shopkeeper, rando stranger, and when the party meets the player, play the NPC? Do you see me shaking my head this whole time? No. That's what the dungeon master does. No. There's all manner of reasons where I'm saying no. No. First of all, that could be abused. Hey, I'm role-playing the shopkeeper. All right, 50% discount. Hey, you know what? You guys get everything for free. Boom! There's a whole level of abuse that could happen there. and you're gonna have to give, in order to be able to role-play an NPC, you need information. And so if I'm role-playing XPC, the dungeon master is gonna have to give that player a whole bunch of information to role-play them, and maybe that information isn't information they should know. So I think there's all levels of wrong with that. I mean, nah. I would say that if you have an NPC that is traveling with the party and they're like a hireling or something, okay, sure, they could role play that, play them in battle and stuff like that. But even out of battle, I would argue that I'm probably going to I'm going to role play the NPC. In battle, you can play him, but out of battle, I'm going to play him. No. I feel pretty strongly that the players play their characters. The dungeon master gets to play the world. That's the line. And if I'm not role playing the NPCs, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing for 4 hours at the game table? Nah, dude, I gotta have fun too. My cool NPCs where I can do my dumb voices or do my things or Have that narrative, that dialogue back and forth. That's my jam, dude. No. I'm gonna keep that. Call me greedy, but I'm keeping that. Dragonlance is gonna be huge when it releases. Oh, are they doing a Dragonlance setting? Are they? I'm scrolling down in chat. Everybody's saying stuff about low coffee. Thank you, I appreciate it. Goliath Cleric says, I tried that, it was terrible. Oh, what? Having the players run the NPCs? Yeah, I can't see that working. I cannot see that working. Nah. Well, they're due. Deceiver, with those timelines for Volo's Guide and Morning Cadence to What Foes coming out, they're due for another one then. Holy crap. They got to get a monster book out. I already made my own Domain of Dread. I made a Domain of Dread for my... Stop talking now. Sorry. There are impressionable ears that don't need to know. So I can't answer that question. Keep going. Wee. I've had players make their own areas where they run as a temporary GM. I have found that those who make the area want that area to feel authentic and will roleplay it as a GM as though it were. I haven't seen any abuse with it, but I always pick and choose the players allowed to do that. Yeah, but they're running their own area. They're literally the game master, right? Oh, I think I see what you're saying. It's an entire area that they create and they run as the game master. What do you do then? What do you do while they're doing that? I'm not saying it will always fail. There are probably players that could pull that off and have it work, sure. But what are you doing? It's like, in the same way that like a player probably doesn't want to sit at the game table and do nothing, like I don't want to sit at the game table and do nothing either. Like I want to play the game as well, you know, and running NPCs and running the area and adjudicating and deciding things. That's me playing the game. So that would be my only comment on that, is I kind of want to play the game too. It was, oh, what did Ed say? What was mentioned at their shareholder upfronts? What was mentioned, Ed? I was behind in chat, so I don't know what you were responding to. That we're due for another monster manual? Oh, the Dragonlance? Oh, the Dragonlance setting book? Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Ah! That raises so many questions about that lawsuit. You know, the Dragonlance lawsuit with the two founders of Dragonlance, pretty much? Huh. Oh, it was settled. Yeah, they settled it. It was always going to be settled. It was always going to be settled. That's a public with Wizards having so many like public relational problems and stuff. They don't need the founders of Dragonlance problems either. The settlement was the whole point. Yeah. Well, it paves the way for a Dragonlance book probably. But they have their own rights to it. So I don't know how that works out. There's a politicking going on there, you know there is. People are jockeying for positions. They're using this stuff. There's stuff going on behind the scenes there that nobody knows about. And Wizards settled to keep people quiet. Yeah. They license the rights they have the license to Dragonlance. Yeah. Yeah, but if you're gonna make it, but if you think, yeah, if you're making a Dragonlance campaign setting, don't you want the two people that like made and did Dragonlance? Don't you want them to be like in on that and working on that? You totally need them working on that. So you don't want to have to do that alone without them. All right, we're gonna do a cat strike or a cat trip. Here we go. This is what we're doing right now. All right, we have to find stuff. Banana. All right. I found their banana. We're gonna do a cat trip. We are doing a cat trip. Squeaky. I'm gonna get some more coffee. I'll be back in a second.
No sé qué tú ves en mí, mi amor. Ya no dejes de mirarme, que ya me gusta quién soy. Contigo me siento en control. Eres el balance en este mundo, poco humor. Se volvió ese chico que habló en mis canciones. Esas madrugadas y hermosas conversaciones. Se volvió ese chico que quería ver otra vez. Y me enamoré a volverlo a ver. Tú me ves como nadie más, bebé. Me diste alas para que vuele, pero motivos para quedarme. Tú me ves como nadie más, bebé. Tú me curas cuando más me duele. Sé que siempre has sabido amarme.
All right. They behave. Were they being good? Wiki. What are you doing over there? Wow. Orange, what happened? Orange deserved it? Nogi just kicked Orange's butt? What did they do? One was bugging another, but nothing mean. Orange got his butt kicked. Nice. Which one is Orange fighting with? Noki 2. Oh man, why were they fighting? I'm going back in time. Noki looked like an MMA fighter. Oh, nice. Oh, Orange was trying to hone in on her banana. She is like guarding that banana. She's like, nobody comes near my banana. Okay, so community goals. Have a skit with the real cats? No. Have the rogue do a community service? No. Community goal. Get Luke to cook from the heroes? No, I can't do that. The cats should dress up as the party. I can't really do that. Barbarian does the Macarena while singing it. Oh, that's a possibility. Backflips, I can't do that. Oh. Luke dresses up as the Barbarian for a stream. That's actually possible. Get him to do the worm? I don't know what that is. Luke sit there and stare at food all stream and not be able to touch it. That's not very nice. Have the barb show off his weapons at the end of the stream. Okay, so the one where Luke dresses up as the Barbarian for a stream, that's actually possible. We could actually do that one. Okay, let's set that up right now. Community roles manager? Okay, where are the community goals? Oh my goodness. Here we go. Twitch and their nonsensical menu system. Here we go. I think I found it. Okay, we are adding a community goal. And Luke dresses as the Barbarian on a live stream. Oh, on a stream. And yep. Does it? You don't really need any description there. No, not dresses as. Luke is. I'll be the Barbarian for the entire stream. I don't just dress like him, I'll act like him. I dress as and act as the Barbarian for the entire stream. Yep. That's 100,000. And we do this for 15 days. And we need some little emotes. Hold on. Let me get some emotes to throw in there. Dun dun. Images. Twitch. Emotes. Nice. And I think that's everything. I think that's all. Does that look good? Yes, the advice will be as the barbarian. That I will be role-playing the barbarian the entire stream. Yes. I think we're good. Create. File too large. Oh, you suck. The file's too large. I could probably find another one. Is the file's too large? You suck. It's thinking. Oh my gosh. It's if we've just entered the black hole. It's thinking. It's thinking. Because of that error, it can't figure out what to do. It just fell into a black hole. You're stupid. Oh. It looks like it didn't take any of them. Because the one thing... Wow. Okay. Did we get that? There we go. Yay! Okay, you guys ready? Go, 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 go! Contribute to the community challenge. Luke dresses up and role plays and acts like the barbarian for an entire stream. It'll be beautiful. A barbarian, ask me anything. Yes, that's what that is. Luke, how do you feel about electricity? We could do something with that. I like electricity. Okay, so those are done. Luke, what do you add to combat encounters to make them more interesting or exciting, so they don't end up as just a back and forth to roll to attack for an hour? So you want to have tactics and decisions and stuff, and you want the players to have to make decisions about what to do. So that you don't want it to be a surround and pound where when the players all just stay in one spot and they don't move around the map and they don't have to make any decisions besides just rolling attack dice and stuff. That's dumb and that's boring. So you want to avoid that. So terrain is important. Rooms and corridors and stuff. Things in those rooms, furniture. The standard dungeon layout works really, really well for combat. This is one of the reasons that combat in wide open areas is usually stupid. If you take a combat in the middle, outside, out of doors, in I don't know, a plain or on a hill where there isn't a lot of terrain, that's boring. You know, in a forest it gets a little bit better because there are at least trees you can hide behind and stuff, but still kind of boring. There are some tactical options. You could duck behind a tree, you know, but when you have rooms and corridors and corners that you can duck behind and move and do things, that makes things way more interesting. And there are tactical decisions that you can make when you're playing that combat out. enemies, a variety of different enemies, some melee types, some archer types, some spellcasters, enemies that use their movement. Have enemies use their movement intelligently. Try to get at the spellcasters. Target the spellcasters. Have your spellcasters ducking behind corners. So the Dungeon Master's spellcasters cast a spell, duck behind a corner. All of these things are, when you do these things, you're making the players think tactically about stuff. They can't just sit there and do the same thing over and over again. They need to move certain places. They need to try different things. They have to change tactics in the middle of the combat. When the spellcaster or when the enemies are now targeting your spellcaster and he goes down or something, you have to change stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot of different things you do. You know, you essentially you need to make it so that the combat isn't just stand there and swing. There needs to be movement and stuff happening, you know, so that it becomes more interesting. And there are lots of different ways to do that. I mentioned some of them. Yeah, I don't know if that helps a little bit. One of the biggest things you can do is not have solo bosses. The moment you put one monster alone, all by himself, that almost guarantees you to have a slog where everybody just stands in one place and attacks the bad guy. You need more than one monster. You got to have a couple monsters. Goliath Cleric, you notice in your Ancient Dragon campaign, you're not just fighting a dragon by itself. If you guys decide to fight it, it's not just a dragon by itself. It has 2 Abishai with it. There's a reason for that. There's a big, huge reason for that. Part of it is so that you guys, when you go into this encounter, assuming you fight the thing, which you don't have to, but if you do fight this thing, you don't just worry about the dragon and what the dragon's doing. You got to worry about these Abishai and what they're doing as well. It gives you all options and choices in the battle. When the dragon flies off and does something, the Abishai are there. Well, let's go deal with the Abishai. The dragon comes back again or whatever. Well, now we got to deal with the dragon. Oh, the dragon just swooped down, grabbed the gnome and carried him off. Holy crap, now what do we do? He just carried the gnome off by himself. Do we go after him? How do you go after a dragon that's flying? What's gonna happen to the gnome? Well, he's dead. But while he's being killed, maybe we can take care of these Abishai. You see, those are the sorts of choices and things you do to make things more interesting. You know, these crazy things happen. It's like, oh, the dragon just grabbed a character and flew away with him. That can't be good. Oh, the dragon just returned without the character. What does that mean? Right? So those, and this is like the fact that it's a dragon out of doors makes this example easy to give. You know what I mean? Depending on your monsters and where you are, things get a little bit different, you know? Is there an easy way to transfer a character from D&D Beyond to Roll20? I doubt it. I would do a Google search and see what you can find. I don't know anything about it. Do you like attack routines from enemies? Tail swipe, then stomp, then fire breath, and then loop. Like an old video game, maybe not for everyone. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't mean I'm gonna do it every time. Can I have an invisible elf sitting in a dungeon on a couch? Sure. Who enjoys playing his piano with Mage Hand? Sure. Which plays Otto's irresistible dance songs to foolish dungeon delvers to let them dance on a pile of his own. I mean, you could if you wanted to. I'm sure that would be funny for certain groups of players. Simpatico says the one time you killed half our Sword Coast Guard group, it was one monster. Really? What monster was it? What monster was it, dude? I don't remember that. You gotta remind me what that was now. But was eyes is the answer to save the gnome? What was you do? What? Yeah. Ooh. I mean, Beyond 20 is a Chrome extension that allows you to roll dice in D&D Beyond and have them go over to roll 20. But you're not actually moving your characters over to roll 20. It just allows you to roll dice. That's how I do it in my games. My players create their characters in D&D Beyond, and then we use the Chrome extension Beyond 20, and that allows all the dice you roll in D&D Beyond will go over into a virtual tabletop such as roll 20. That way we can use the ease of creating characters in D&D Beyond and not have to goof around with roll 20. Class is cleric, domain is life. I'm trying to find a known deity for my character. Suggestions. Yeah. Find out which campaign setting your dungeon master is running the game in. Eberron, Forgotten Realms, etc. And then go Google search that campaign setting's deities and find out what the deities are for that campaign setting. And then pick the one that makes the most sense for a life cleric. It's going to be a benevolent deity that's concerned with people's welfare, probably good aligned, more than likely. If your game master is running a game in a different homebrew setting, then you need to ask them, hey, I need to figure out who my deity is for my cleric. Can you give me a list of the deities and basic descriptions of them so that I can pick which one is best for me? So there are a couple ways to go about it, depending on what your dungeon master is doing. I want to see what Simpaticos didn't respond to me. Dude, what was that monster that killed half the party? He didn't answer me. Simpaticos, you have to answer my question. I've been waiting patiently for 2 hours and 40 minutes. Isaac. Did he mean Isaac? Well, Isaac had minions. No. Isaac had a bunch of minions. He had like 4 guys that went along with him. What trap? I'm trying to think of the monster plus a trap. Huh. Yeah, he said sword. He did say Sword Coast Guard. So what monster plus a trap did we have? Oh, yes. Remember? It was against the giants. You guys were down in the basement, and there was that room with gems, and Ted's character went in and started grabbing all the gems, and then three of you were in that room, and the portcullis came down and cut you off. You and one of the other characters were on the other side of the portcullis, and then it was a Nabasu, I think. A Nabasu came out. But there were 2 of them. There were actually 2 of them. There weren't just one. There were 2 of them. They came out and they started attacking the 3 players in there. And it was, no. That only killed 1 character. That didn't kill the whole half the party. That just killed 1 character, didn't it? Yeah, I don't think that killed that. That just killed like 1 or something. It killed 2. Okay. So that was definitely a trap. That was an obvious trap, by the way. World's most obvious trap. Gemstones over there to lure you into the room, and then a portcullis comes down. World's most obvious trap. And again, we had players go for it. 1 player who was like, wee! And then 2 other players who were like, I guess I'm going into the room. Oh man. In any given encounter, how often do you use a monster straight out of the manual without any tweaking? Probably 90% of the time. I only tweak when needed, when I feel that it's necessary. Boss monsters almost always get tweaked. There are also other monster types that always get tweaks, like giants. Giants are the stupidest, most boringest monster in the entire game. They're big fat sacks of hit points that do damage. They are the worst monster in the game. So I almost always give something special to giants to make them more interesting. They're such bad monsters. But a lot of the monsters I use straight out of the book without tweaking them at all. The thing that I don't call them by their names though. A lot of times I don't say it's an orc or it's a goblin or it's a Nabasu or it's a whatever. I usually call them by like different pet names so as to not give away the name of it. Yeah, Nabasus are nasty. Those things are awesome, man. Yeah, that's what you do to giants. You give them feats, you give them spells. You give, like, I have frost giants. My frost giants typically will have they will have like a kind of like an ice coating over their skin. It serves kind of like an armor for them, but also when you attack them, it breaks the ice off into shards that fly at you and do damage. My fire giants usually have a heat aura that radiates out from them and deals damage to you. Yeah, so I tweak them a little bit to make them more interesting, or they might be able to do other stuff too. I could always give them more stuff they can do. When I run monsters, I tend to forget their resistances and immunities. What do you suggest I remember them better? I don't know, dude. I do the same thing. Not specifically with resistances and immunities, but I do things with, I forget other parts of monsters. Like the game mechanic that I hate the most with monsters is when there is an effect that takes place at the beginning of a character's turn. So for instance, if you look at the Medusa, when a character begins their turn within 30 feet of the Medusa, that's when an effect happens. Well, I'm gonna forget, man. I'm gonna forget. I want all of a monster's effects to happen on the monster's turn so that I can remember to do them all. I can look at the stat block and remember to do them all. When there are effects that take place at the beginning of players' turns, I hate that mechanic. I forget about that half the time easily. In fact, I go so far as to tell my players, hey guys, because there's something that happens at the beginning of each of your turns, please remind me, because I'll forget. And most of my players are good-natured enough that they'll remind me. Oh, Luke, remember this thing happens to us. Oh, that's right. Okay, cool. So yeah, that is one of the 5th edition mechanics that I absolutely hate. It's bad. I wish they would not do that. Simpati Ghost, we were asking you, you said that there was one solo monster plus a trap that killed half of the party. What was that monster in the trap? Or are you thinking of the Nabasu and the Portcullis and Gem Trap? Because there were 2 Nabasu in that encounter, but it only killed 2 of the players. Yeah, that's the one. It sucked the souls out of Nigel and Ted. That's the one. Yeah. And the other half of you were on the other side of the Portcullis. Exactly. So yeah, so Kevin, we were totally thinking of the same one. Yeah. Okay. But it was 2 Nabasu. It was actually 2 monsters. It wasn't just one. There were 2 of them. And yeah, they kicked your butt. You think one would have done it? Oh, maybe. Those things are nasty. Spirit Guardian should do damage on the cleric's turn. Yeah, it would be easier for it that way. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there were 2 of them. I'm pretty sure there were 2 Nabasu. Yeah, pretty sure. it was way stacked against you. That was a super deadly fight. It was a nasty, nasty fight. Yeah. Then they were flying. I know, it was beautiful. Oh, those are good. That's a good encounter right there. Do you think the Dark Powers would bring Isaac back after death? Or do you think he could come back as a revenant, intent on killing the PC that killed him? I like that idea. I mean, it could be the Dark Powers bring him back as a revenant. I like that idea. That's really cool. I would do that. I would totally do that. Any tips for running a game with a large party above the typical 4 to 5 players? I'm pretty sure I have a video on my YouTube channel about running games for large parties. The biggest thing when you have a large group of people, the biggest tip is to try to keep the game moving along and don't let things bog down and take too long. It's hard. It's hard because you have so many people and they all want to play the game and they all want to contribute. But you can only really have one player talk to you at a time and do something. So for combat, it's very important that everybody takes their turn quickly. They tell you what they want to do, you adjudicate it, and you move on. You can't sit there for 5 minutes on one player. You can't sit there for that long on one player. Otherwise, it's going to be like a half an hour before you get back to the first person and they got bored. They're on their phone. They're having a side conversation, which are distracting. Which brings me to another point. For large groups, the side conversations, man, they're a killer. They are a killer. You got to try to minimize the side conversations where two people are talking among themselves, which is distracting for the rest of the group, distracting for me as the dungeon master, and they're not paying attention. So then they might have to ask you to repeat something. That's a problem. So you got to try to keep the side conversations to a minimum and keeping things running on a snappy pace. Trying to give all of the players an opportunity to participate in the game as well. When you have lots of players, what you're going to notice is there's going to be some of them that are super talkative and they will dominate that table. And they talk, me, look at me, hee. And then you're going to have some players that are quiet. Now, maybe they want to be quiet and they're okay with that, but you don't know until you ask them and say, hey, John, do you want to do something here? Because there are some players that absolutely want to participate and they want to do something, but they're not. It's so hard to get a word in edgewise when there are some people that just won't stop talking. It's the dungeon master's duty to get them to quiet down and ask the players that have been quiet, hey, what would you like to do? Hey, what is your character doing? Hey, do you want to say anything to the NPC while he's standing here? You need to give them space to participate in the game. Quiet down the talkative ones, give them an opportunity. Now, sometimes those quiet players will be like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. No problem. That's okay. They're like an audience member. They just they're watching the game unfold and they're cool with that. Other times they want to do things and say things. They just haven't had the opportunity to do it. So the large groups of players, make sure you're giving them the opportunity to do that. Those are probably some of the biggest things, I think, for running a group with lots of players. Those are some of the biggest things that come to my mind. And those are just game management. That's managing your table. You know, that has nothing to do with adventure design and all that kind of stuff. That's purely running the table, running the game. My DM hinted the next session is a card game tournament. As a newish player who never really gambled in D&D, do you have any tips on how to roleplay a card game? Dude, I don't know. I would not. Here's my take on games within the game. I came to play D&D to play D&D. I don't want to play a game within the game. Like I literally, I don't want to come to a D&D game session and spend 2 hours playing a game of poker. Zero interest in that. If I wanted to play poker, I would go play poker. I came to D&D to play D&D. So like playing a game of cards, it's like, oh, I wouldn't force that upon my players. I'm assuming they wanted to play D&D. Hopefully I don't know. If that's what you have to do, then roleplay it the way you're not the dungeon master. You're literally the player. So you have no influence on how he implements that at the game table. You know, if I were the dungeon master, if I were running a game where there was going to be a card tournament, then it would be skill checks. You would have a series of skill checks. Now, there might be some PC interaction and stuff where you're like trying to bluff somebody, or you're explaining what you're doing, or if you're palming a card, you'll explain that I'm going to try to cheat and palm a card. Okay, make a skill check or something. That's how I would implement a card tournament at a game table. It would be skill checks. It would be narration. It would be dialogue with NPCs. It would not literally be playing cards. We would not literally play cards. We would role play a card tournament, but there's no way we're actually using cards. Okay, that's not why we came to the game table. So there's a couple different ways, I mean, to implement that, and that's how I would implement it. But you're of the player, so I don't know how your dungeon master is going to implement it. But you basically, once he lays out how he's actually going to do it, you just got to play along, and role play to the best of your ability. He should lay out the ground rules for how that's going to work at the game table, and then you just go along with the rules and then just role play your character properly. Oh my goodness, we've reached 34% of the community goal already. Oh, I'm gonna make the challenge higher. I'm gonna make it into like more or something. Oh, no, this is what I'll do. I won't stream. I won't stream for like 2 weeks, and then it won't get fulfilled. Look at me. I am smart. I answered that one. I had my players go into a casino once. Players were more interested in the quests than the casino games, but they were there to a degree. Yeah, and I would be too. It's like I said, I came to play D&D, not to play casino games. So that's totally understandable. 100% understandable. Can we donate outside of the stream? No, I think you can only donate when you're in the stream. Oh, I think I have some. What do I have? I have some requests here. Cat Strike, we did that. Order a cat trip, we did that tonight. Oh, I'm not getting to all of these things tonight. Yeah, we've only got a couple minutes left. Sorry. I used poor time management skills tonight. 42%. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Penguin, but you can hit me with that on the next one, like next Tuesday, and I'll try to do that. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'll refund that to you. And there was a Make Luke Rant one, but I don't really understand it. The idea of the one true way system to play tabletop RPGs, I don't even know what that is. I'm not sure what's even being referenced by that, so I'm just gonna refund that. Make Luke do a cheesy plug. Oh, cheesy plug. All right, I'll do my best. I'll do my best for the cheesy plug. Here we go. All right, everybody. Look at this. Look at this amazing product right here. This right here looks like a PDF full of Dungeon Master resources. I bet it contains things like entire D&D 5th edition adventures that you can use with your gaming group. I bet it has things like NPCs and villains and traps and puzzles. I bet this would save Dungeon Masters tons of time at their game tables. I bet Dungeon Masters would get lots of value out of this, and they'd be really, really, really happy. Oh, what's this? Oh, you can become a patron today and immediately get this PDF to use in your groups and get future PDFs every single month as a patron of the DM Lair. Oh wow, what joy, how awesome. I bet there are hundreds of people already whose lives are being enriched and made more happier because they've become patrons, and they're getting tons of awesome, cool stuff every single month. Oh, yay. Link below. How was that? It's like at the end of the stream, so I'm like tired and stuff, so I don't have too much go juice. So I don't know how cheesy that was, but I did my best. More happier, more happier. All right, I fulfilled that. I think we're done for tonight. We're gonna raid somebody. I'm gonna find somebody for us to raid, and we're gonna raid somebody. So give me a hot second. Let's see. Let us find out who's on, and we're gonna raid someone. Dun, 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 dun. I should show you. I should show you my screen. We're gonna find somebody to raid here. Oh, let's see. Ooh, I think I might have done those guys before. Who to raid? Ooh, what's this? Curse of Strahd. Ooh, a Curse of Strahd game. Ooh, they have a map. We should do these guys. Okay. Kaizo. Okay, we're gonna try to do these guys. There we go. We're gonna try to do those guys. Hey, Prepper Jack, thank you for the 5,000 bits, dude. Really appreciate that, man. Whee! Thank you, sir. That's awesome. I'm gonna go get my cat some cat treats with that. Okay, let's Kaizo. Raid channel. You just became the #1 cheerer, dude. Yeah, baby. That's awesome. Kaizo Kanuku? You have a really hard name there, buddy. There we go. All right, here we go. We are raiding these people. Let's go in there and show them some love. Get into that raid. Let's go. Let's go do this. I will be back on streaming on Friday. So we'll see you all then. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to have lots of fun. So go raid some people now. Bye. Bye-bye now.